All right, sitting down today for the Lever Up podcast with Richard McWhorter. So, thanks for joining in. Great to meet you. Why don't we start out with you telling me a little bit about yourself and your background?
First of all, thanks for having me today. So my background started 37 years ago. I was a 17-year-old kid, got an internship, and never left the business. And in 1992, became a financial advisor after being a receptionist and a secretary or client associate for many years. And then in 92, got my break and became a financial advisor and been doing it for, 33 years now.
So I saw you recently spun out from Merrill and started your own thing. What was the catalyst to do that?
Yeah, so Merrill and I had a differing opinion about what an advisor was, and that was the reason or the impetus for me leaving. I have an idea that an advisor is to have very few conflicts of interest, if any, and at the bigger banks, they don't want to be over-advising clients. And what that means is we don't want you to get involved in anything that has to do with things outside of the scope of the firm. And advising the type of people that we advise, that didn't really play itself out very well. So after 32 years, they came to that conclusion, and I decided to open my own shop and start this process as a registered investment advisor.
What I'm hearing you say, if I read between the lines a little bit, is they wanted a more packaged type portfolio?
They wanted to, so there really wasn't a, how do I put this? The best way to explain it is that they asked me to not get involved in conversations regarding people's real estate or
I got you.
Music publishing or things that were outside of the scope of traditional. And the reality is that for my career and the type of people that we deal with, there's a vast variety of different things that we get involved in with their accountants and attorneys and real estate agents and everybody else that's involved. And, we're one of the voices, and clients expect us to help them advise through that. And Merrill took the stance that they didn't want me to be going that route. So
I got it. You wanted, I've got it. You wanted to be, I got it. I'm a smart guy and our listeners are pretty smart. I got it. You wanted to be a full service partnership model versus we will fill your portfolio with products model.
Yeah. Listen, in this business, there's a huge differential between salespeople and advisors. And that differential is massive. Yeah.
I'm definitely clipping that I'm definitely going to clip that for real. Okay, I got it's interesting, right? When I spent time in obviously consulting, and there are people that wanted to do consulting work and and make slides and give business decisions. There are people that their clients called them at 2 a.m. when they had a life decision to make, and they really wanted, they needed like a structural partner.
That's right.
in company versus I need to know how much, size this acquisition for me, right? The very, very different situation.
No, listen, the example I use quite a bit is if you go to a firm, an investment firm that's owned by a bank, and you ask them to do a mortgage for you, they can only show you, the advisors there can only show you the mortgages of that particular bank. Otherwise, it's called selling away.
Yeah.
So conceptually, are you getting the best deal? Maybe it's the best deal on the street. I would debate that you would want to see what the market has to offer, and then it becomes your responsibility as the client versus the advisor to, in that situation, salesman, to find what that best deal is for you on the market. So for me, it's always been, how do I show them, my clients, what the market has to offer, and if we happen to be the best, great, and if not, then I'm going to advise them to go someplace else, and that's what an advisor, I believe, should do.
It's funny. I got to be a little vague. I'm under an NDA, but I was talking to a team that they need someone to build a factory for them, and I said, look, guys, I can introduce you some debt. I don't really think you need me. Now we just bought a business and I'm kind of digesting that, so I don't really have timing anyways. I'd love to take equity in their business, but I don't think they need me. I can introduce a drawdown debt structure. I don't know, they don't need me from a manufacturing perspective, right? They know how to build a plant. They just can't really get the funds. I don't know. I feel like at some point something will hit their desk that they need. I feel like from like a karma perspective, like if I got them some debt, they need it, they could keep all their equity. I don't know. Life's too short. Do you know what I mean?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I just think that, there's too many times where I find that people look and build something so that they benefit rather than, doing what's right and knowing that they're doing what's right. I'd rather do that all day long than get a short-term fix off of some deal that
Yeah, for not that much money, I don't want to be flippant, but like for like 50K, right? Like not, you know what I mean? Like not that much, structurally not that much money. Like,
but the question is, okay, so then the question to you would be, what is that number, right? I mean, is it, but there's a huge differential between this is what that number is, right? 50K or whatever it may be, which is a lot of money to some people and not so much to others. But I think on the other side of that is that, when we do what's right, to your point, the karma concept, I do believe that comes back in spades over time. And I do, value, I'd rather have relationships for 30, 40 years than, which just means I've gotten really old during this process because I do have some relationships like that. But I do believe that, to have those types of relationships, we continuously do what's best for the client, and then they'll stay with you for long periods of time because they know you're doing what's in their best interest.
So it's interesting. I put a lot more time into interviewing you than I think I have anybody else, at least definitely top two. And so I don't know if you saw this. Elon's trying to get people to write articles on Twitter. So he's giving $1 million to like the top viewed articles. So I'm like petting an article right now, but I figured I'd research more. And I feel like you might have, and I'm writing an article about like the 10 deals I lost in the last 3.5 years. We finally got one done at the end of last year. And one of the deals I lost was because we had this guy out in St. Louis. We had a deal locked up, and then he called his attorney that was more like a general counsel. He'd never really done an M&A transaction before. He owned a company. He was like 60, and we had him ready to go. And his attorney had never done a deal before, and it broke. And then so I started thinking about you, and I started thinking about like the show Entourage, and you've got the entourage problem potentially. And so the clients you serve have the entourage problem. How do you avoid being A, pulled into the entourage, and B, you are obviously you've worked in the business at very reputable companies, being pulled in the entourage, or they've got someone in their orbit giving them ridiculous advice. And I'm just going to assume by proxy you're giving them the straight and narrow, best interest, and obviously you're sophisticated. What if they have some idiot in their circle that's just telling them something ridiculous they heard on the interweb?
No, that's a great question. Okay, so the first question on the entourage thing is very simple. I don't hang out. I'm not that guy. I'm a back end guy. I'm behind the scenes. I want nothing in the forefront. I don't want to be going to bars, and that's just not who I am. I belong to a golf course out here in Los Angeles, and I don't even hang out after I play golf. I go, I play golf, and then I go. I'm not.
I bet they like that too, don't they?
I think so.
At least appreciate it. At least appreciate it.
Yeah, I would imagine some of them do. I mean, other ones want to hang out with you and get to know you, and But for me, I've just never been good at that stuff. And we got brought into one situation where there was paparazzi involved, and which makes me extremely uncomfortable. And I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I don't want photos, and I don't want any of that stuff. So it was only happened once, by the way. But on the second part is that listen, there's a lot of people that are giving advice to people all the time. Right? My clients get hit on daily from different advisors, and some of these guys are going to be really good salespeople or really good advisors, and how do I keep that relationship intact, and how do I keep these relationships for as long as I have? And fortunately, and a lot of that has to do with just, it's very rare that someone with to your point, is someone that gives them Instagram advice, or, by the way, sometimes it's correct.
For sure. Yeah, I'm not trying
very rarely.
I'm not trying to bucket everybody in.
I get you.
But yeah.
But it very rarely, to your point, I think, is that. But I do think that when we go through and you look at people within their circle that are giving advice, it's pretty easy to break that down. And it could be an arrogant statement on my part, but if clients are looking at another advisor, I'm just like, bring him in and we'll all sit down together. And if he's smarter, then it is what it is. And, there's going to be people that are much smarter than I am. And then on the flip side of that, if someone's got a stupid recommendation for someone to do something, let's sit down and go through it. I can only do what I can do, and I can give my advice, and some people are going to listen to my advice all the time, and some people are going to take 50% of it. You know what I mean? And so it's not going to be 100% of the time that clients are going to go like, oh my God, he's so smart that he figured it all out.
Yep.
They're going to take my advice sometimes. A lot of the people that we deal with are so uber successful outside of me that it shocks me that they would even ask me their, in
Fair
real
enough.
estate, right? So, the idea of me giving my opinion, I also think that, it's like a lot of things, right? We only know what we know. And I tell clients that all the time. I can do all the research on a stock or a bond or whatever, and it can still do crappy, right? And that's part of the deal. And as much as, research and there's so many other variables that go into all this stuff that we do on a daily basis that, sometimes I tell clients don't do this and it turns out great. And other times I tell clients not to do something and it turns out exactly as I had thought. So, we have to know that there is no certainty to any of this stuff that's going on in the markets. Otherwise, you wouldn't have bears and bulls. You wouldn't have a market. You'd have everyone buying and no selling. So, what we always forget is the market is a buyer and a seller, right? So someone thinks it's great and someone thinks it's right, and that's just the way it goes. So
anyway. I liked it. How's the sausage made, right? So you've got clients that they kind of live on text, or they have people that are gatekeepers, and it's apologies for the pop psychology, but you seem like a structured, disciplined guy just from getting to know you from our pre-call. I'm not going to say chaotic, but they live turbulent lives, right? They live and travel, and they're moving and always on the go. And I find that when I was, days of consultants, when somebody needs me, they just call me in a hurry. Even updating investors and updating, if somebody's got a deal for me, it's always A1 when somebody calls me and needs me. How do you manage that? And, what's your process like?
It's a great question. Yeah, it's, we have 36 families. It's about 500 accounts, 36 families. We run $2 billion. And the fact of the matter is that, with 36 families, we get together with these guys all the time. The ones that are difficult are obviously the ones that are traveling all the time on tour or whatever it may be for those particular clients. Those guys are, I do a lot of texting. I'll give you a quick example. I have a band that I work with, one of the key components of the band. And, we text all the time, 3 or 4 times a week, just about stuff. And decisions and planning and things like that, we kind of wait for either I have to go see them and tour, and we'll go to dinner afterwards or go to lunch or whatever it may be. We'll get on the phone every once in a while. That's always nice versus texting. And then lastly is that we wait till we can have a proper sit down when he gets home. So, I think when it can be avoided, decisions without discussing or going through it. And, I love to get together and just have a think tank about stuff, right? And just kind of let's go through let's go through what we're thinking. Let's go through what the ramifications could be. And then let's figure this out. If we critically think through the whole thing, it really takes away a lot of the guesswork for me. And once again, we're going to have 80% probability of being correct on one side or the other. There could be these tail risks on either side. It really does clarify many, many things. And when we can talk it out, when we sit down and just talk, it clarifies so much stuff. And listen, it's like any relationship, communication's 90% of that. So yeah. So same concept.
So that's interesting. So I talk to my CPA once a month, maybe. if it's 3 to 4 times a week, are finances a source of anxiety to some of your clients? Like, maybe anxiety is not the right word, but maybe it is. Like, that sounds like a lot.
It's the standard, to be honest.
What drives that? Because
life.
Okay.
It's not investments, right? It's not. I'm not sitting. No, it's everything else.
Do you sit on top of the CPA? I'm trying to or.
No,
not literally, like figuratively.
No, I know what you're saying. I would say to you that the answer is sometimes. It depends on where clients value me, right? There's some clients that value me as their consigliere, right? It's the guy that they can call, they can talk to about everything, right? Get things done for them. Hey, I've got some issues with my wife, my kids, my parents, a house in somewhere, an advisor that they're kind of questioning. All those types of things are conversations that we're always having. Sorry. Okay. And I think that, in general, it is so personal, and so some of these relationships are so in depth that investments is maybe 30% of the conversation.
Okay.
Maybe 30%. But life in general for a lot of these guys is, and when the last point I'll make on this is that trust is a huge, huge issue with wealthy people, with family offices, and with especially the musicians, entertainers, and athletes. Trust is huge. So the idea that they trust me to the point where they'll have those types of conversations it really is something special for me. So,
it's not a direct comparable, but when I go to sea in the Navy, like you left your life behind, and you were always like, oh, my cell phone bill, like it's like, oh God, like there was no auto pay in 2000, like exactly right. So you're like, oh God, that's going to be late, and it's not exactly the same. Obviously, it's like
no, billions, but it's like concept.
Your life, it's like something that's like unhandled, right? It's
right. And you don't have any way of doing it either, right? Going back to the auto pay, it wasn't like you could just, back in the day, you couldn't just log on, you know what I mean? So
it's super industry. Do you make a formal, so you say the investor, are you making plans for them, right? If you go went down market, call it like a Henry, or a high earners getting a plan, it's not quite that it's not like that for them, is it? This is more, I got a guy. My clients, to be honest. You're getting a guy, right?
Yeah, and listen, with the family offices we deal with, and then the entertainment, musician, and athlete area, all those guys are, they're getting hit on all the time. So you're dealing with all of that. You're being propositioned for various charities and to do things, and should I, in music, should I sell my music? And, athletes are looking at how am I going to do it after my retirement? And we're looking at all of those types of things. And so it really depends on where they are in life, how they've done before. Am I cleaning up a mess that was there prior? Am I planning on, hey, by the way, we've got no more income. I don't want to work another day. I want to play golf and I want to do nothing else. So figure it out. Tell me how I can do that. You know what I mean? And we do future value numbers on that, and we use different rates of return, and we model this stuff out, and then every 3 months, 6 months, whatever, we go back and we reevaluate those numbers so that we're on track. And it really depends with each person. By the way, it really doesn't matter. The family office people are a little bit different because, that's, lots of money versus somebody that's, got a few $1,000,000 and has to live the rest of their life on a certain standard of living that we need to figure out for them and monitor their spending and things like that. So
where do you it's interesting you said because what's the average age of average career of an NFL player is 3 or 4 years, right? It's not 10.
Yeah, no. If you take if you take football, basketball, and NHL, I think the average is 3 to 6 years. So
3 to 6 years.
I don't know about MLB.
But so yeah, if it's 3 to 6 years, most of them need a second career, right?
Depends on how they did it.
Depends on how they did it. Yeah.
Yeah. They make a bunch of money. during that period of time. Now the question is that how much do they have to pay to their agent, manager, business manager, lawyer, right off the top, and then how much did I pay in taxes, and then how much did I spend during that period of time?
I don't know if this is an interesting discussion or not. You tell, we can move on. The impulse purchases, do you have to manage those? Are you involved in that process?
Sure.
Okay,
For sure.
What is that even like? Because I know, is it when you pick up the phone, are you like, oh God, or are you like, or do you have a process for that? I have a process for everything. I'm an engineer, right? I was on a submarine. So, like, do you have a process for that?
No. It's a conversation. I'm like, dude, if you do this, this is what this means.
Okay.
Right.
I was like, kind of sounds like me,
by the way,
actually.
it's just simple. It's just so simple to me. Right? It's like, okay, you can do whatever you want. It's your money, but it's going to put you behind like this. And do you want to get off the road and you don't want to do 70 shows or 60 shows or 50 shows a year? Well, then you don't spend this money. You know what I mean? And so it is a absolute, it's funny. Most of the things that I do are so data driven that it takes away most of the emotion from it.
Oh, they don't feel like you're going to judge them when they call you, do they?
No.
They don't. They're like, oh.
No, I mean, because I'm just going to go, it is what it is. This is what it is. And if you want to do it, you do you.
I see why you were saying clients. You're like, it's not. No, it's seriously.
It just is.
Here's the numbers. So they probably are just calling you for the math, aren't they?
For sure.
That's
and
really
they know that I have little emotion regarding that.
You're like you're a dentist. Yeah, you're a dentist that doesn't yell at them about flossing.
No, what do I care? If you don't want to floss, your teeth fall out. It is what it is, So
that's really good. Oh, that's really good, because I was sitting stewing. So I was stewing about. I was like, I wonder if, because I didn't think about it. You're not giving them a lecture about that. It's like, yeah, this is what it is. You lose 2 years.
You go back.
I don't know, my brain, because we were talking about music the other day. My brain went to Bob Seger on the road again after that. You said 74 shows a year. That's exactly where.
No, these guys, as I said, it depends on what type of musician you are, what type of, are you one of the owners of the music, or, do you have publishing rights or writer's share, or do you have master? All these types of things are things that we take into account. And then I have to also understand what your spending behavior is, and decisions that are made are based upon the idea of what that looks like. And so when we go through the process of evaluating that, we give our 2 cents. But the thing to remember with all this stuff is I'm just one of several advisors, right, in this process. Now, whether or not they listen to me more or they call me more in regards to stuff, that could be something. I always assumed, because I wasn't charging an hourly fee like a lot of other advisors do, that I was just the cheaper advice. But the reality is that a lot of these guys, they're going to hear what I have to say, and then they're going to talk to their significant other, and they're going to make a decision, or go and talk to their lawyer or their accountant or whoever else. So it's a very human approach to it, for sure. But I do think that, giving these guys my unfettered advice one way or another, and then they're going to make a decision. And what am I going to do?
Yeah, it's the way I was framing this up when I was thinking about it was like, not like there would be rules and guardrails and this, and where it's hey, now it's I'll hold your hand through the good and the bad, kind of, and like, look, you made these decisions. This is where we're at. Like, this is where we're at.
Man, I got clients that have had millions and millions and millions of dollars and spent so much money on stuff. And every time they spent money on stuff, you tell them, listen, this is what it's going to do. At some point, you're going to be broke at this pace. And they know it, right?
It's got to be so frustrating, though.
Well, the problem with it is, or I'm sorry, the situation is that I can only do what I can do. Right. And as much as I appreciate what you're saying, and yes, you don't want to see them go down that route. I can only, it's like my kids, right? I can only teach them and guide them, and they're still going to put their hand on the stove and see if it burns,
As a Bezos said, he'd rather have a kid with 9 fingers than never have them play with a pocket knife. And
there you go.
Yeah. And it's, we've bubble wrapped our kids in the last 20 years. And I was a Creek kid in North Carolina that jumped in and scraped my knees, and some kids got hurt, and we bubble wrapped our kids. I don't know if it's better. I hear you, and it's so sad to see. It's so sad to see an athlete make so much money and end up broke. It's so sad.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And I was shocked. I will tell you that I represented a basketball team for a long time. And when I took my kids, I remember to one basketball camp with two of my sons. I have six kids. So two of my sons I took. Yeah, it is awesome. But it's a lot. But anyway, so I take them to the basketball camp, and I saw this guy that when I was in high school, this guy was a stud at a university or in college, and I know he played for the team for a while. And I said to the CFO of the team, I said, how much do you guys pay that guy to teach my kid how to play basketball? He said, oh, it's minimum wage. And I'm like, and he goes, yeah, we're just trying to give him something so he's got some money. And I'm like, how is that possible? So I went home, and of course I'd look up the data, right? I look up how many years, how much did he make, and all this kind of stuff. And all I'm saying is that, it's really unfortunate in many of these professions, entertainer, musician, and athlete. In those, because the paychecks are, in many cases are really large. I mean, when you look at these guys that are making $100 million or whatever it may be, it should theoretically be a different level, although we've seen some of those guys go bust too. But the ones that are making $5 million a year, and when you do the math all the way through that, they're netting out of that, after 25% off the top for manager, agent, lawyer, business manager, all that. And then you get down to taxes at 48%, and then in California. And then, when you're done with all of that, you're down to a couple $1 million.
Yeah, you do 1.5, 1.8, probably 1.8.
Right.
Yeah.
So then what do? I go buy a house.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have a injury, or you don't get picked up on your next contract. All these things are things that could happen, right? Listen, the one that I was speaking about had a 14-year career and working for minimum wage, right? So my point is that when you go through and you look at each one of these situations individually, there's something that went wrong, either bad advice, spent a lot of money, whatever that looks like. For me, I come in and try and, how do I fix that? With music, it's different. Music, I have income coming in from as long as I didn't sell my music. I have
you have some tools.
I have publishing 100%. I've got something coming in potentially. Now, a lot of these guys are selling their music and their likeness and everything else. For me, when you look at an entertainer, when you look at these guys and you do the math all the way down, it really is something where someone, in my opinion, needs to be more directly involved in teaching these kids how to manage this money. I've talked to so many people regarding this over the years. And, even in music, you have these guys that are making millions and millions and millions of dollars. And then you see their cars being repossessed and because they bought a Lambo and then they did this and they did that and they had one song and it did really well. And, there's so many of these stories. And all I'm saying is that at some point, someone has to take responsibility to help them, right? And I will tell you that in the situation that I know, it's not going to be the team. Maybe it's the NBA. Maybe it's their management or their agents or whomever. We've been trying to design for the past 3 months or so. We've been trying to design a internship program for people during the off season so they can get some type of vocation. And we've been talking to a lot of different people, and because I've been around forever. We just know a lot of people here in Los Angeles that, have businesses or accountants or real estate people, all the back end stuff. And a lot of them have been really receptive to that, right? To having these guys come in and work in their off season, being very flexible with schedule and being able to do it that way. And, for me, those are the types of things that I think more people, in my opinion, need to do to give some type of ongoing vocation for people that have been really focused on what they've done so well for so long. Now they're 28, 29, 30 years old. Now what? I got 60 years to go.
It's super interesting. I we have an NFL player. I haven't dropped this press release for the company. He's in the industry that we just bought a company in, and it doesn't make sense why he went here. He's like he runs a similar company to what we bought. It was a total pivot. He was like off-season practice squad, did a couple years, like first couple years, he was off-season practice squad. Couple years in, was like back up. He got one touchdown, was like, a little bit in, but he didn't really make it. I shouldn't say it that way because it's still impressive to me, right? But he knew
anyone that makes the NFL, by the way.
He made
anyone.
Anybody that made it is impressive. Like I had a guy on my podcast that did 6 years in MLB, and I think he's like, oh, I never made all the way. As far as I'm concerned, dude, you crushed 100%. It, right? You know what I mean? Like, but like obviously anybody that even makes it to that level is always like totally self-flagellating, right?
Yeah.
And but the guy that makes it 5 years at like a full whack contract at millions, those are my opinions that are like most at risk to like have the crash out and blow up and make the bad decisions. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
The best thing I saw on LinkedIn ever was Tom Brady's resume because he thought he wasn't going to get drafted. That's my absolute favorite thing on the internet. And it was like Heisman Trophy at the bottom of his little interests, right? And because he thought he was going to have to go be an investment banker, right? And
look at Mendoza. I was reading something the other day in regards to Mendoza from Indiana, and the dude's doing internships every single summer, right, in real estate or something. That's what I was. Don't quote me on all that, but that was what I heard on one of the broadcasts. Was that he was doing internships every summer. That amazes me. That's awesome.
It's a meme. No, it's a meme on finance Twitter now. That's like how that's the genesis of this whole effort is it's like talking to everybody else. Sorry, your internship. We've extended an offer to him.
It's but it's fascinating to see how over the years, listen, the biggest thing that happened many years ago was there was an article that came out from this guy, Pablo Torre, and if I said that correct. But he came out with an article in Sports Illustrated, which is probably one of the biggest articles I've ever heard quoted ever, and said that 78% of Major League Sports, and I think it was NBA or NFL or both or whatever, went either bankrupt or had financial distress within 2 to 3 years or something to that effect, right? And this came out in 2009. Now, for me, I don't know where the data came from, right? I heard a podcast with him in 2024 and he talks about it. He really didn't clarify where the data came from, except it was a quote. So that could be but I do think that there's a lot to be said for we can look at bankruptcies. I think the National Bureau of Economics Research did one in like 2015, 2014, and said that 15.7% went bankrupt of the 983 or 987 players that they looked at, which is far less than 78%. The difference is one's bankruptcy and one said bankruptcy with financial distress. The other thing that I will tell you is that I do know players that are having financial issues that would not tell a soul that they have financial issues, nor would I.
It's very embarrassing.
100%. So the idea of these guys actually stating to anybody that they're in financial distress is a big deal. So I don't know if that data's spot on. I don't know if it was a quote made by somebody. The National Bureau of Economics looked at bankruptcy records. I know that there was some methodology to that one. But let's just say that a much more heightened amount of players relative to the population go bankrupt or have financial distress in sports, music, and entertainment.
It's ridiculous.
I would live by the 100%. Listen, if it's 15%, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Right.
If it's 15%, even if it's at the number, it's ridiculous.
Right. Because proportionally, could you imagine 15% of Americans went bankrupt? Right. 2 to 3 years after retirement,
right? Exactly.
Whatever that looks like, it would be ridiculous. It would be horrible. So my point is that when you're looking at the numbers, we do know. I would surmise, I would hypothesize that it is much higher in those 3 areas of occupations than anywhere else.
I can't imagine that it's it's certainly not. They're certainly not. They're certainly in the top 10.
Yes,
They're certainly in
100%.
the top 10.
I agree with that.
Right, let's pivot. So the people I have met that had their own RIAs are running towards the big shop, not away from them. They're running the aggregators. There's all these fintech startups that are supporting RIAs to get them out of starting their own shops, and you ran away. So what's it like day one away from the infrastructure that you had for years and years, and you got to do everything yourself new? Talk to me about that, because I left institutional private equity. We had a closing team. I just went through my first closing, which was I had Christmas Day off in December, and so you did the same thing 2 years ago. Talk, and I will say, what's the grimy detail stories are always, everybody always likes those.
Day 1 through 180 sucked.
I hear you.
Plain and simple. You have to start dealing with a bunch of stuff that I had no idea how. It was great being at these big firms, and remember, I was at a big firm since I was 17. I started at Dean Witter Reynolds and went to back there, and there was Shearson Lehman Hutton, which became Shearson Lehman Brothers, and so, or vice versa, or whatever. And then it became Citibank, and then Merrill Lynch became Bank of America. All of that. I came through that whole movement. So when you go out on your own and you get to your office and the computers don't work, or back in the day I would just call somebody and somebody would know who to call, and I had no idea who to call, and so all those learning lessons that you have from that first 180 days sucks. Then liberating.
Okay.
Right. And I will tell you the one thing about a lot of, well, listen, it's even being on this podcast. When I was there, I couldn't be on a podcast. They wouldn't let you. Right. So now I think maybe they're becoming more open to that. I mean, I went through media training when I was at City Family Office, and we did all that stuff, but never saw the light of day. Yeah,
but you would have been accretive to the platform. That's what they don't get. Like
and I appreciate that, but they would. There's not even an opportunity to show that, right? So, but I guess my point to you is that when we're looking at all of the things that I can do now, right? It's funny. One of the networking events that I set up, and this might sound off, and it was a non-rake game, but I set up poker games every other month at a private club in Beverly Hills.
But that's so LA, right? That's
no rake. Yeah, 100%. It's super LA. but I think it's one of these things. There was a private club. There was no rake. I would buy these guys drinks and sushi, and we would sit there with a bunch of buddies and play poker. And they would bring people for the tables to me. We had 2 tables, and we just had this wonderful time getting to know each other as human beings. Poker and golf. You sit with people for 6, 7, 8 hours, and there's always conversations about stuff. Forget about, it's funny, when I was at Merrill and Citi or Smith Barney, they would always ask me about what prospectuses I'm showing and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I have nothing that I show. It is just literally everyone getting together, and if you want to talk business, you talk business. If you don't want to talk business, there's no business. And it was just human beings getting together.
But you're not bringing it up.
No.
Never.
No. But it always comes up. Someone says something about economics across the table, or especially now, it's we have a lot of political rhetoric that goes on at these things, and golf is the same way. By the way, you get people for 5 hours, you play golf, and what's the worst case scenario? Is I get to go play golf, right? And I get to go play poker. So my point in all this is that when you're looking at the human side of what we do, the way we build our business, the way that I can do those types of things without worrying about Merrill getting upset that that there's a poker game going on, and what is that going to look like in the press and all that stuff. I'm telling you that this is just a bunch of guys getting together, and it's just playing a game. And just having a good time. So
it's literally board game night, and it's like it's
board game.
It's not that serious, right? I had 3 board games. We had Settlers of Catan going to Denver, and like Cards Against Humanity, and I don't even know some other game going, like very vanilla, but like somebody in corporate at Merrill said that wasn't a good idea,
Right.
The word I use is not, it's just sterile. It's sterile relationships. It's sanitized. It's safe and boring and not helpful.
There's no relationship. There's no relationship.
It's transactional.
No. Yes. And they talk about the concept of advisor, but the reality is advisor's not what really they want, in my opinion. They want a salesman. They want someone that's going to show their, I'm not saying their products, but they're going to show products that have been approved by the firm, which I get, due diligence and all the other stuff that goes on with that. But there's a lot of products out there that, people are big boys and you explain this stuff and you go through it and you advise and clients are going to make their own decisions. Very similar to what we talked about earlier with, these big purchases, right? They're going to make their own decisions at some point. I don't need to push anything.
Yeah. The no sale is better. So you got 180 days. You were obviously the admin administrator for Outlook 365, I'm sure. I had to go through that too. Still there. The logistically, I probably want to ask that. When you're obviously you've had long-term relationships. I struggled with getting new. So clients for me are investors, right? Just clients for you as investors. But then I had to go start sourcing new opportunities. I'm trying to understand, like, you had to bring them products to invest in. So you've got this you had to connect your clients, which that to me ostensibly was pretty easy, easy-ish, obviously with some legal constraints. But like, how did you find the products for them? I don't know the RIA's business that well, by the way. Obviously, I go to USAA for all my stuff on the public side because I'm a vet. But like, then you got to go find products again. How did you do that? Because you got to build like a whole business from scratch. If I'm asking the wrong questions, fix my questions and then answer them, please.
No. You're asking the right question. And within the RIA space, there's, we have 4 different custodians. So we have Goldman Sachs, Fidelity, Schwab, and Pershing. And all of them have platforms of different stuff. So for example, if I want to go and do private credit, let's say, right? I know I have to hold that on Fidelity's custodianship.
Okay.
I can't hold that on Goldman's. Goldman has a great private equity division, and I get access to private equity at Goldman. But if I want to do something outside of Goldman, right, then I have to go and, okay, we've got the other custodians that I can hold that on. And so we're out there talking to other large, let's say, private credit or private equity or hedge funds or whatever. And we're basically saying, and for me, we're using the big ones, right? The Ares, the Oak Trees, the Kane Andersons, all those big, huge firms. And a lot of that has to do with experience on their side. So I'm not taking risk in, going to some new hedge fund that's coming along that doesn't have much of a track record. It's just not what I would do. And then it has to be approved by something called iCapital, and then you can own it on the platforms. And there's got to be due diligence that goes into that, and you have to present that.
Okay, you're going through iCapital. You're going through iCapital.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a friend that works at iCapital. He's actually on the podcast. He's one of the product managers for the IT. So okay, I got it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but then stocks, bonds, ETFs, all that stuff, mutual funds, they're all available, right? And if they're not available, we can get we have to go through an approval process and get them available, or they're available at one of the other custodians. So, we can have accounts for the same client on 1, 2, 3, 4 different custodians.
So you said $2 billion AUM, right? What are you 10% ish alts? Or are you closer to 20? We had this discussion in the pre-call.
About 10.
About 10. Okay, so it's meaningful.
Yeah.
I just have to ask because it's killing me. I was thinking about this. Are your musician clients asking for private equity debt allocation, or you're just telling them they want alts? I can see some athletes or hip hop guys asking for it, but not like musicians. I don't know. This is my bias kicking in.
No. It depends on the person.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There's by the way, some of the rockers that we have are some of the smartest people I've met. Some of the smartest people and some of the nicest human beings you've ever met. And you look at them on stage and they got the hair and they got all this stuff going on. And then you sit down with them and it's like this really soft-spoken, wonderful human being. You know what I mean? And then so my point is that it really depends on the human being with a lot of this stuff, right? And it's just like any other person out there when it comes down to their knowledge, their risks, what they're what they're willing to do, what they're not willing to do, and you explain that situation and what happens if it works out and what happens if it doesn't work out. All of those things are things that we still have the same conversations with, just like we would any other client.
I saw Billy Corgan on Bill Maher's sit down podcast. I don't know if you saw it, but
Smart.
he's freaking really smart. And I grew up on him, and I didn't expect, he was the arm between how smart he sounded and what I expected him to be was really wide. And I just
100%.
really, and I could just, hey, Stouffer went down 25 bips. I need you to get me in on something, right?
But it's funny with Billy. So I saw him at a vegan restaurant out here in Hollywood one time, and he comes in with a pink fur looking thing.
Right, exactly.
And that's what you expect, right?
Yes.
But then when you hear him talk, it's like a whole different situation. And I think that we underestimate, because of what they do, we underestimate their intelligence as human beings. Now, by the way, some of them fit perfectly into what we assume, the cliche, right? But others are really, really smart human beings.
Yeah, I'm really grown fond of Bill Maher through all the drama back and forth, and listen to him and Billy Corgan chop it up, and and he did not fit where my heuristic wanted to bucket him. We'll say it that way.
Yeah.
And
but I think but isn't that the fascinating thing about what we think is stardom, right? Like even athletes, right? There's some athletes that are really, really, really smart, and then others not so much. But that's life. That's human beings in general.
When I was at McKinsey & Company, there was an NFL guy that became a partner there. I forget his name, and he was just wicked smart. I want to say I forget how the Wonderlic is scored. It's the test they take in the draft day, but he was he pegged it, and he played a couple years and made partner quick, just genetic lottery winner, right? Attractive, super smart, athletic, checked every box, and just
annoying across the board because he's got everything.
Pegged all fours. You're playing an RPG and you roll the dice and it's maxed everytheverything. Right? It's not fair. It's F you, right? Thanks. And just whip smart and charming and nice. You want to hate him, but you can't. And
no, I totally. And, as I said, we put so much emphasis on the fame part of it, and
it really negative halo affects people.
Yes.
You want, and it's I really want to hate Kim Kardashian, and I really actually do think she cares about people. I really want to with all the I've heard that lady she arrested, that she was caught up with her boyfriend and the marijuana charge, and she was in jail 20 years or whatever it was, and she convinced Trump to let her out. I really want to not like her, but I really actually do think she cares a little bit. Anyway, I don't know how we got here. As I told you, this was going to happen when we were talking.
No, but all this stuff is once again. I mean, we can judge the Kardashian, Kim, right? Let's just use her. She's, I appreciate the idea that she comes out and tells people that she's trying to get her law degree and she's trying to take the bar and she didn't do very well on it, and that's stuff that most people would never say a word about, right? They would never admit to it.
Mostly stuff you'd keep to your hidden self, and
and there's an appreciation, by the way, because it's human, it's real, right? And I think that's part of their brilliance.
It makes the stuff that I previously bucketed as performative feel less performative. And then
I like that.
Okay, so then you're at 180 days and you're happy. You're happy. You've assembled products. We'll go back. We'll go back to that. And then, so you're a year in. What's the plan? You're $2 billion. What's the plan for the business?
Don't know.
That's an honest answer. I mean, quote unquote, you quote unquote stay here in perpetuity. You don't seem like a guy that would want to tread water, though.
Well, there's different pursuits, right? There's for me, the pursuit of, the way I look at it is that what drove my growth in this business has been, I am an avid, and I was a horrible student. I'm an avid student at this point of this business. And I will tell you that, a lot of just studying and the confidence that brings in having any conversation bring up any topic. Like we talked about in our pre-call, it's let's go, anything you want to talk about. And, what's fascinating to me is that I spend so much time on stuff that you would never think that would be something that an investment advisor would spend time on. But the reality is this is because of conversations that I've had with clients. And so my point in all this is that I don't know where my business goes. I mean, I'm trying to maintain everything I've got, and then hopefully it grows by whatever percentage every single year. Um, the reality is that, new accounts may come along, and people, I might come across people, or people might come across me and want to start working with me. And those are the things I don't have control over. What I do have control over is that what I know, what I can do, what I try to do for people, I have control over that. So we'll see where this thing goes over time. And to your point is that hopefully I can, take care of my relationships now. And, it's getting, the older I get, the more generations I'm accumulating within that my book. Some we're 3 or 4 generations deep with some families now, and then vertical, right? So we've got the horizontal and vertical, and so on the horizontal side is we've got aunts and uncles and all that, and their kids, and then vertically we've got the matriarch and patriarch of the original family, and then all their kids and grandkids and everything else. So we'll see. I don't go into it with a plan of this is what I'm going to accumulate over this period of time. I'm just going to keep doing what I do.
Just keep working. Do you have, tell me about your team. What's your team look like around you?
Yeah, so I got 4 analysts. I've got 2 operations people and myself.
Okay. Are you grooming anybody?
It's a great question. I have thoughts on what I want to do there. A lot of people that come through my door don't want to do what I do.
Really?
They just don't want to sit there. I've been doing this 30 years, and if you look at the mountain of information that I have to read every day, it's ridiculous. And by the way, I will tell you that the past year has been one of the best times in my career intellectually. I know more about stuff that I thought I know more about stuff that I would.
Give me an example. Give me a story that's something that just like
I know stuff about Venezuela than I know stuff about Venezuela that I never thought I would know about Venezuela, right? The type of oil that they have, what that does, their relationships outside of the United States. I mean, the types of things that I've been able to sit there and study is ridiculous.
Did you take apart stuff when you were younger?
Wonderful.
Did you take apart stuff when you were younger? You didn't? Okay.
I was an athlete when I was a kid. I was an athlete.
Okay.
No, I hated to read. I hated all
Interesting.
Of this
You broke my thesis today.
100%. I was a horrible student. I seemed to always get decent grades, but I was a horrible student. And so I played, sports in high school, and I thought I was going to do well going into maybe amateur tennis at the time, and then I decided to give that up on a whim one day, and really never played ever since. So, and then for 10 years afterwards, I was just treading water, and didn't know really what it meant to be an advisor for my first 10 years in the business.
Okay, so it's so funny because I'm like obsessed with reading. So I would go to see, and I'd like max out a Barnes and Noble card. We didn't have Kindles or anything, right? Or I bring like books and read books all over, and so we smashed Maduro. Apolitical discussion. How much did your phone freaking ring when we did that?
0.
Wait, really? Okay, I was expecting
0.
Okay.
And a lot of it had to do with it happened so quickly, and people didn't realize that there was such ties to other countries, China particularly.
Yep.
And then what it meant to our oil industry as far as, and once again, I think during that period of time and that particular topic, we stayed down pretty much party lines. This is ridiculous or this is awesome, right? One side or the other. And for me, and I say this to people all the time, is that I don't care what side you come from politically. It doesn't matter, right? Because the bottom line for me is I have my personal opinion. My clients know which way I'm thinking. And secondarily to that is that I have to understand the ramifications from all of this, because these policies are going to be implemented whether I like it or not. Who am I to be involved in that process? So at the end of the day, what are the ramifications of Venezuela? What are the potential ramifications?
And
what if we're going to Greenland?
Didn't you?
Yeah, for sure. But and a lot of this is conversations with clients when they call me up, right? It's like tariffs. To your point is that we can go through and study tariffs and where that money is going. And all I know is that there's got to be one of four people that are paying those tariffs. It's either the country, the producer, the distributor, or the consumer. And everyone's like, it's the consumer. Well, that's not in the inflation numbers, really, right? So then the question is that where the hell is that money coming from? Because it's coming from somewhere, right? So then for me, I'm like, okay, well, we're starting to see unemployment starting to go up. Are companies cutting back on employees to then keep the same profit margins, right? And you go through these different scenarios. By the way, I don't know if that's the right hypothesis either. But what I am saying to you is that I do know that whatever that number back in November was, $230 billion of tariffs that were collected over the last year, that I'm sure that's debatable, but $230 billion, I think, was the number. And someone's paid that money. Just tell me who it was. And so when you go through each one of these things, you go through each, crime, immigration, right? All these things, when you go through them, it just is, right? And what I mean by that is that there's going to be ramifications from getting rid of every illegal immigrant. There's going to be positives for some people and negatives for others. And it's going to be this debate on how you're affected by it, right? And I have to understand for my clients, I have to understand this is what the impact could potentially be and how do we plan around that. Period.
You get called for a sobering take, I could tell. I got called for a Middle Eastern television station called me to give be on a panel for tariff takes, and I used to work a lot in Asia and in manufacturing. My business partner is still in the National Guard, and he was like, Paul, can't do that, and I'm like, okay, and I was turning down advisory work on Liberation Day, whatever the hell they called it. And it was like, honestly, from a thought perspective and people calling me Liberation, but like 2 weeks prior to Liberation Day, I did not what's going to happen?
Right. By the way, if you wanted phone calls, that was the time.
I did not want the phone calls.
But I got more phone calls during that period of time.
You got way more than that from Venezuela.
Way more.
Yeah, that's
and the other thing, I also think that we've become numb to a lot of it all. I mean, look at the response of the markets when he says he's going to threaten tariffs on 100% over the weekend on Canada. And then Canada says, no, we're not doing anything unilaterally with China. And then, so you have this. We get numb to it.
He's just talking shit again.
And if it happens, it happens. And, not much has really happened as far as inflation because of tariffs, right?
The problem people don't understand. The problem people don't understand is most of it, and I knew NAFTA a lot better than I knew the new one that we passed, and I knew NAFTA cold. I knew it really good.
The USMCA or whatever.
The new one, I don't know it that well, and and the problem is most of the tariffs are on things that are a 5 to 35% of the bill of materials on a good, and it's so it's not a linear 10%. I've made that point so many times, I just can't get through to people. And it's guys, let's relax a little bit. And
I think on the other side, but the last point I was going to make is that, if you look at U.S. auto manufacturers, look at how much of car is truly made in the United States. Nothing, very little. And by the way, some cars a lot, other cars not so much. So my point is that when I'm looking at what the impact of this stuff is going to be, I would have to bring down every single part and every single country that is impacted by tariffs and try and calculate that. And there's no way in hell that's possible.
Ironically, it's the BMW in Spartanburg, South Carolina. That's least effect. That's most made in the USA.
Isn't that funny?
It's really, really funny. I actually almost bought an airbag manufacturer in Mexico in late 2024. And I was going to have to send a 3-person team down there. And I had a lot of Spanish speakers at the time. And everybody was the family office got a little skittish because of after the election. But I was like, what? We're going to have fun. It's
going to be great.
Down there. All right, look, we've gone an hour. Let's a couple more things.
Yeah, sure.
A couple more things quick. I want to know. I feel like you work with a lot of creative types. We'll bucket athletes as out of that, but you do work with a lot of creative types.
Yeah.
Someone that advises creative types, and I've worked with a lot of R&D types, which I'd say is moderately fungible. what advice do you have advising creative types? Because I've had some difficulties doing that. Like, you're advising creative types. What I'm hearing you say is be the stoic. I need to go back and like read some stoic stuff so I can see the stoic energy. But notwithstanding that, like, what advice do you have working with creative types? Like, this isn't me asking for the audience. I'm actually just kind of asking you right now.
No, totally. And I will tell you that it's coming from the opposite perspective that they have. I come from a literally non-emotional, non-creative, this is what it is, and it is what it is. And you can debate me all day long, and you can tell me how wonderful all this stuff is. You know, when I go into a conversation about, I remember I was working with this fashion designer in regards to her foundation, and she's a brilliant woman. And she had 45 different ideas in a day. We'd sit down for lunch, and by the time it was done, my brain hurt because I can't understand any of it. Do you know what I mean? And she's so smart at what she does. But if we sat down and did numbers, if I pulled out a spreadsheet, I could put her to bed in 30 seconds, meaning that she would fall asleep so quickly listening to me speak about the stuff. So when she would ask my opinion, the reality is that it was this non-emotional, numbers-driven opinion. And by coming from that perspective, it was something that they didn't think about because that's not how their brain works. Just like my brain doesn't work in that creative way. It really is, you know, the people I deal with know I can be very non-emotional with stuff.
Do they feel like you're not hearing them though? No,
I don't think so. Maybe.
I'm asking, not telling. No, I'm just curious, honestly.
No. And I would be curious with that too. But I think that they call me to get that non-emotional thing, right? And because I do think that so many people around them, you know, especially the uber successful ones, you know, a lot of people around them, not to put them down because they're very nice people, but there's a lot of yesing.
100%. Right? I bet there are a lot of, yeah. That's a lonely gig, man. If you're famous,
and I'm not that guy.
Oh, I know you're not. That's your shtick. You're not that's that my guy. Shtick.
Right. I'm going to tell you what's up in one way or the other, and it's just my humble opinion, and sometimes not so humble, but my opinion is this, and this is what I would do, and this is how I would do it, and this is why. You know, and a lot of them come to me with stories and all this stuff, and I'm like, you can. I'll listen to the story, right? Because I want to hear what they have to say, and they're most of the time very passionate about it. But the reality is I just want to look at the numbers. At the end of the day, just show me the numbers, and my clients have heard that. Many of my clients have heard that multiple times.
But what about the children?
yeah, and it's like, you know, like okay. And I don't think anyone's ever come to me and go, "This is a crappy idea, but I'm going to bring this to you anyway."
No,
right? Everyone's got this idea, 100%. A lot of these guys. Yeah, they got. I've got this, and I know I've been successful in doing what I've done, and then I'm like, this is different, right? This is, and the numbers don't make sense here, and this is your risk, and are you willing to take on that risk, right? And sometimes they say yes, and other times they say no, and sometimes they go against everything I have to say, and that's okay.
And you don't ever, right? You do not seem like a guy that would ever say, "I told you so." No,
because I could have gone the other way, and I would have been eating crow, right?
I guess that's fair. If you say "I told you so," then you get to say "I told you so" too. Let's see. There's one other about the creative type. What's the most expensive mistake you've ever seen a creative type make when you've had this? I just like really bad. You can sanitize it if you need to. Like
no. Okay, so I had a guy that gave his business manager power of attorney.
Oh God!
Over everything. And he said to me one day, he goes, "I knew there was an issue when I was driving the same Escalade and he was driving a Ferrari."
That's so sad.
Right? So I have seen that. I have been involved in stories, meaning that I'm giving my 2 cents to a non-client. I have seen a lot of problems over the years with people giving so much control and so much trust into either a family member or an advisor.
Yeah. So shameless.
That and you go running around town. And by the way, you know, the question is whether it's, you know, sociopathic or whether or not it's just not being very good or understanding what they were supposed to be doing. But I do know that and have been, as I said, I've been involved in meaning I've been told by the person stories about how they had hundreds of millions of dollars and all that money is gone and I'm having to go back on tour.
At least they can go back on tour though.
100%. And then, by the way, but a lot of these guys, like Prince, right? Prince sold, I believe, and if the story is correct, Prince sold his likeness, right? He sold his name, right? And that's why he became a symbol afterwards.
Is that why he changed his name?
From what I was told.
I had no idea. I was like, this is so stupid.
We might want to look that up, but I know, but
but it makes more sense than why he did that.
Yeah. So, but when you do those types of things, you lose your future revenue on and once again, it's just a calculation on how long it's going to take you to make up the money that they're giving you after paying capital gains taxes and all those types of things.
Man.
But once you lose that, what do you have left, right? And I do find that there's been a lot of bad advice given because I do believe that, in my personal opinion, that there's been inherent conflicts of interest that have driven some decisions by advisors because of the percentages that they were taking from these clients. And I will stand by that statement. But and so once again, when you can give unfettered advice and advice that's not driven by the idea of, it's the fiduciary rule, right? Do what's best for your client before you do what's best for you, right? It's the same conceptual idea with all this stuff. So
people play it fast and loose with that role, and
they take advantage of it, and I think they get caught up, and then they need to make up. It's like going to Vegas, right? When you start going down, then you're like, okay, I'm going to bet some more, and then you go down some more, and then you're going to bet even heavier to get back the money and it becomes this vicious cycle of trying to make up. And I also do think that it's intoxicating to get involved with people and that kind of money and the types of things that you get access to and invited to, and there's so many different rabbit holes that you can get caught in. Sometimes it's quicksand that you can get caught into, and you can't get yourself out of it, and you're just addicted to that life and running around with someone else's checkbook and making decisions for them that you think could pan out, and really not looking at the potentials of downside risk.
All right, the last question I always ask everybody.
Yes. Okay.
What is the book that most impacted your life that you recommend everybody reads?
All right. So I give 2 books away to clients, new clients.
Oh, I actually have that on my list. What book would you give to clients? That's great.
It's called Factfulness.
Factfulness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Blink by Malcolm Gladwell.
Blink, Malcolm Gladwell.
And so it's, as me as a human being, my favorite book of all time is To Kill a Mockingbird. So that's who I am as a human. But all in all, those 2 books, Critical Thinking and Factfulness for me is, as well as Blink, is I've been doing this a long time, and I get brought into situations with clients because of I don't take what someone tells me up front as being truth. And I am discerning to a fault because of many times I've seen people that I have represented or loved get taken advantage of. And so I have a very hard time, and it takes me a while to trust people. And I get brought into situations where people are having a little bit of a question about somebody, or someone new coming into a situation, or I think a lot of people value the idea of, once again, someone that's just going to tell it like it is, and it is what it is. And there's lots of times that it doesn't benefit me to do that financially, but on the flip side of that, it benefits my relationship, and these guys entrust in that. So both Factfulness and Blink are the books that I give clients to kind of remind them of critical thinking and to be a little bit less trustworthy and be a little bit more protective, because of I've just seen too much of that over my long career. I
love it. Super good to get to know you better. I hope I will be in LA at some point in 2026.
You hit me up when you're out here.
Face. How do we get in touch with you? If
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. I'm at Richard McWhorter. It's McWhorter, or you can go to my website. It's SRM. That's Sam Robert Mary, privatewealth.com.
super good to meet you today, bud. Anyway, looking forward to getting to know you more. And honestly, I learned a lot today. And anyway, looking to see what your growth is like, and talking to you again, and hopefully go to a concert with you at some point in the next couple of years. All right.
I would love that. Let me know. Talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks again.
Thank you for joining us on Lever Up. We trust today's conversation provided meaningful insights into private equity and entrepreneurship. Stay connected by subscribing to our podcast for upcoming episodes.